Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cyrus Webb Presents and Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. So glad you all could be with us. For those tuning in on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and X, we're glad you all can be with us. We'll go ahead and connect with our friends over on Instagram as well, and bring in our friends over on Amazon. I'm so excited to welcome back today's guest as she's gearing up for the release of her latest book that's already an Amazon bestseller. We're going to talk all about it. And we're live now here on Amazon for Cyrus Webb Presents and Conversations Live. International best-selling author Tess Gerritsen is back with us. Last time we had a chance to talk was about this book, The Spy Coast. And now she's gearing up for the release of the second book in the Martini series. It's called The Summer Guest. We're going to talk to Tess not only about what it's like for her to be able to have the Martini Club back together, but also this newest book and what it says about the importance of not only working together, but also the power of secrets as well. For those of you joining us on the simulcast, if you guys have any questions or comments for Tess, make sure you guys do put those in the chat for us. And of course, go ahead and pre-order the new book for yourself. It'll be out next week. Tess, thank you again for spending some time with us. Really appreciate it.
Oh, well, thank you. I always have a good time with you, Cyrus.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it. It's always great to have you back. And I was just saying to Tess before we went live here, I mean, I've been a fan of yours for quite some time, and I love the way that you are able to write so many different type of stories that will us in as readers and really be able to make us invested in them. The Martini Club is definitely another example of that, Tess. What has it been like for you to see the response to the series?
Oh, it's been really fun, especially because a lot of my readers are women of a certain age. And I could not have written this book 30 years ago. I needed to be old enough to know what it's like to suddenly be discounted because of my age or because of gray hairs. So it's fun to revisit these retired CIA people who still have their wits about them, and they are still ready for an adventure, and they're still ready for romance.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm so glad you brought up that point because I think a lot of times, Tess, when we kind of think about the books that you write, I think one of the big questions for me is always, where are you going to take us next? And it seems like no matter where you take us geographically, there's always something that we can relate to, but also these characters we can find ourselves rooting for. Has that been part of the fun for you as a storyteller to have readers not only see themselves in your characters, but also be excited about the ride you're taking us on?
Yeah, people are excited about these five people. And I myself, when I finished writing The Spy Coast, I just thought, oh my gosh, I miss my people. I miss these five. I want to be drinking martinis with them and gossiping with them. And they became very real to me. So now that I finished the second book, it's been so much fun just to hear them, to overhear their conversations and to see how their brains think and to watch how they are able to dazzle a much younger woman, their local police chief, who's still getting used to the idea that, yes, these old CIA retirees might be able to help her.
Yeah, and we see that come up again, of course, with the summer guest. So let's go back a little bit then, Tess, because as I mentioned last time we had you on was when the Spy Coast came out in paperback. We had you on with the hardcover release, of course, when it was out in paperback. How did the initial idea for the series come to you?
Yeah, I'm really writing about my hometown. I moved to Maine almost 40 years ago, and my husband opened up a medical practice. He was doing occupational histories on his new patients. A lot of them were retired, and they told him they used to work for the government, but they couldn't tell him what they did. He heard that a couple of times and thought, who are these people? And a real estate agent told us they were retirees from the CIA. It turns out I live in a part of Maine where we have a lot of retired spies and State Department. And I began to wonder what their lives were like. Did they miss the old days? Did they get together and have cocktail parties? And what secrets they could tell? Well, it turns out they're very closed-mouthed. They are not going to talk about their work with us as being a spy, but sometimes their kids will talk. And so that was my idea. I wanted to know what it's like to be having been retired from a very interesting job abroad, moving to a small town, and what if that old job comes knocking back at your door and you have to strap on a gun again? So that was the inspiration for Spy Coast.
Love that. And it kind of ties into the summer guest in that, you're in the Spy Coast, of course, these characters, Maggie, and the bunch, kind of think they've left this particular life behind them and some of those secrets buried. But the Spy Coast show that, the past is never really truly buried to everyone. And we see that come up again and the summer guest. Did you know automatically, Tess, though, when you were writing the Spy Coast, that Maggie and the others were individuals that you wanted to spend some more time exploring?
Oh, that happened very gradually by Maggie in particular, because she was the star of the Spy Coast, and we find out about her tragic past,
Hmm.
about the fact that she left the agency for a very good reason.
Hmm.
But then I heard a little snippet of information from the adult child of a retired spy here, and she had told me that her family moved to Maine because the CIA had a branch of MK Ultra in operation in the Mid Coast. Now, MK Ultra, for those who are not aware, the CIA was doing a research project where they were giving psychoactive drugs to people to see the results. The idea was that maybe it would help with interrogations, or possibly would help improve their ESP abilities, because back then they believed in ESP. And it all fell apart when somebody was given LSD and jumped out of a 10th floor window and died. So the result was congressional hearings, and the head of the CIA ordered all the records destroyed. And I thought, wow, that's a pretty powerful thing. We're using human guinea pigs. They don't even know they're getting these drugs, and maybe other people have died. So I heard that, and I thought, well, that's going to go into the next book, and that is indeed a thread in the Summer Guests.
Yeah, yeah, and we also meet in the Spy Coast that kind of leads into the summer guest as well. And I see you guys coming in over there on YouTube and Instagram. I'll give you guys some shout outs here in a moment. The police chief there, Joe. What was
Yeah.
that like for you? It's so interesting because in the Spy Coast and now with the summer guest, we're able to see how you would think these individuals who quote unquote are on the same side, you would think how they do kind of butt heads. What was it like for you? I'll ask the question this way, Tess. What was it like for you, kind of, to craft this character Joe, who wanted to do the right thing, but also was not as trusting of the Martini Club?
Well, there's a fun contrast between these five members, these five retired CIAs. They didn't always follow the rules. Sometimes they bend the rules. It's very mission oriented. Joe Thibodeau, who's in her mid-30s, she's a Maine girl. She was born here. She's multi-generational Maine. She is not that way. She is by the book. She's a good, solid cop. And so she has to get adjusted to the fact that these people over here, they're not following the rules. And that really bothers her. So there is that conflict. There's that conflict between method. There's that conflict between old versus young, because at first in the Spy Coast, she doesn't know who they are. She thinks they're just a bunch of retirees and can't understand why they're always a step ahead of her in the investigation. And now in the second book, she's come to accept their help, even though it is an uneasy alliance because they break the rules and she doesn't.
Right. I think that is the coolness of these stories. I want to say, for those who are just tuning in, welcome. You're watching Cyrus Webb Presents or listening to Conversations Live. We're excited to welcome back international best-selling author Tess Gerritsen. You guys know her because she's written a whole lot of books, all of them bestsellers that have really kept us speeding through the pages. I got to know her initially because of the Rizzoli and Isle series. Of course, more recently, we've got to see her write some great thrillers and mysteries, including The Spy Coast that we were talking about. And now, of course, her newest book is The Summer Guest. I want to say hello to you, RS Diva. Hello to you over there on Instagram. Real Talk with Tanya White. Hello to you over there on IG. Dur51999. Hello to you, AT Accountants. If you guys have any questions or anything for Tess, make sure you guys drop those in the chat. But I appreciate you guys joining us live. Tess, you have been able to write these books that span readers of all different types of interest. And over the years, I mentioned, of course, the first time I reached out to you, emailing you, asking you for an interview. Over the years, you've had people who have been able to kind of follow, your journey. What has that been like for you to kind of think about those who kind of have come along from book to book, but also those who've been with you for quite some time?
Well, I am really grateful that people have followed me, because I have moved. I've moved to different genres. I started off writing romantic suspense years ago, and then I moved into medical thrillers. Then I became a crime novelist with Rizzoli and Isles. I've done historical novels. I've done science fiction with a book called Gravity. And now I'm doing spy novels. I've even done a sexy ghost story. But I am really grateful when readers like the stories enough to say, well, I don't read science fiction, but I'll read hers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess the question is, why do I keep jumping around? Because it's really not a wise thing to do in publishing. They always want you to write the same kind of book so people can put you in a drawer.
Mm-hmm.
I get creatively really bored if I get stuck in a
Mm-hmm.
drawer. And that's probably why I keep, sometimes I'll get excited about a new topic that I've heard. For instance, this whole spy thing.
Right.
That was completely out of left field, but I really wanted to follow that.
Yeah.
And as long as the stories have people we care about, to me, it doesn't matter what genre it is. We read for character. We don't
Yeah.
necessarily read for plot.
Yeah. I love that, and I think even your peers. I think about the peers of yours, Tess, who have such respect for you and enjoy your work. They feel the same way, right? It's the characters, and that's one of the things that you just really knock out of the park is that you bring us into these different worlds that you're able to create, and it makes us excited to be able to take the journey along with you. And quite honestly, a lot of us get to travel the world because of you. Otherwise, do you find the research to be an integral part to the success of the story, or for you, is it more about the people?
Oh, well, it's both. The people are are number one. The
Okay.
research, well, for instance, with Spy Coast, I take Maggie Bird to Bangkok and London, and she ends up spending a lot of time in Turkey. Those are all places that I'm familiar with, so I didn't have to do much research. But just entering the world of intelligence operatives, that did take research because they won't talk to you. I've tried. They will not talk to you. So I go to memoirs and I go to books about tradecraft. And I was really most fascinated, getting back to research, in what is it like mentally and emotionally to be an intelligence gatherer, where you can't tell the truth, where you have to tell lies all the time. It must weigh on you very, very heavily. I
Yeah.
have heard from some that their marriages don't always last, that
Mm.
they do drink a lot, and it's got to be stressful. So when I created these 5 people, the Martini Club, I wanted to bring that aspect of their lives in. They have regrets. They've done things they may not be proud of, but they serve their country, and that was number one for them, is they serve their country.
Yeah. Hello to you, Betty O'Brien. I see you over there on IG. Kate, hello to you. I see you over there on Facebook. And you mentioned this earlier, and I want to go back to it, Tess, because when you talk about the Martini Club, I think the other thing that readers will find, and if you guys go back and read the Spy Coast before, of course, the release of the Summer Guest, you'll see that just because they share this shared experience does not mean they always see eye to eye. I think that's the other thing that it's fun, Tess, because even among our friends, right, we don't always agree with everything or see the world the same way. How important was that for you to even have them be a diverse group, even though they did have the shared experience of the CIA?
Oh, well, people are diverse. They're not going to all think the same way. And
Yeah.
they all have different experiences as well. For instance, one member, there's a woman named Ingrid, who is, like to think of her as the Hermione of the group. She's the brainy one who always can think out her way out of a locked room. She's married to an analyst named Lloyd, and he is the only one who did not serve overseas as an operative. He was stuck behind a desk through his career, and that gives him a different perspective. His perspective is those people had adventurous lives and I was stuck behind a desk, and oh my gosh, I really envy them. So he always feels a little, I guess, deficient in some ways,
Got
which
it.
makes him, to me, really incredibly lovable. So his thing, his kingdom is the kitchen. He loves to cook. And you will see these 5 having their cocktail parties, and Lloyd is the one who brings out the spectacular dish. So that's just one of the little quirks of these people that I adored. Then there's Maggie, who is haunted. That's the one word I would come up with her, is she's haunted by her past.
Yeah.
And she takes great love in her chickens, because she's now a chicken farmer.
Mhm.
But everybody has their own personality, and it's fun to watch how they interact.
Yeah, I think that's it. And I will say for anyone who read the Spy Coast, that Tess is not afraid of putting even her heroes in dangerous situations. I mean, we've seen it from many books from you, Tess. But I think that also adds to the realism, but also shows that, that that life, the choices we make are not easy, and that life is not easy. especially when you're trying to do what you think is the right thing. Last thing I want to talk to you about, Tess, I really appreciate this time. Again, I want you guys to go ahead and pre-order the summer guest. It's coming out next week, so you guys can join in the fun of this story, and also, of course, be able to connect with Tess. I want to talk about your readers, because you have such a great relationship with them. I love the fact that you're able to engage so much with them online. Of course, you're able to offline. Talk to us about that experience, because that to me seems to be the writer's dream, to have people who look forward to reading their work, who love sharing the word about their work. What has that experience been like for you over your career?
Well, what I love about it is people tell me that it affects them personally, that they will read a book where I will have a character struggling with their mother who has Alzheimer's, and they'll say, I had the same struggle. Or I wrote a book called Playing with Fire about the Holocaust in Italy during World War II. And I have received a lot of people, emails from people who were very moved that they were Italian. They knew the stories about the camps there. Or, especially with the Spy Coast and with the summer guests, I get emails from people who think, my gosh, I'm 70 years old and you've just told me that I still have adventures left in my life.
Oh, wow.
It's inspiring to see that older characters, like me,
Mm.
we're not over the hill yet. We still have something to contribute. And I would hope that it also, that young people will also look at it and say, wow, maybe I should ask grandma what she did in the war. Or maybe I should, maybe grandpa has some stories he hasn't told me, because when he was a young man, he may have been quite a daring do kind of guy. I want young people to look at older people and with appreciation that they don't know half the story that we've told them.
Yeah, that is a really good point. That is a really good point, Tess. When you said that, I thought about one of the pleasures of my life before my grandmother died in 2014, was I got a chance to interview her and to share her story, things I didn't know, her living through 23 presidents, and seeing the South being integrated. I mean, it was just remarkable, things we never talked about, because she
Mhm.
didn't think it was a quote unquote big deal but she was a part of history, and so that
Yeah.
was amazing. So thank you so much for your gift. Again, everyone, Tess Gerritsen has been our guest. The newest book is called The Summer Guest, officially coming out on March the 18th. You guys can go ahead and pre-order it now. We have it listed in the carousel here on Amazon, but we also have the Spy Coast. If you guys have not read the Spy Coast, definitely pick it up. Tess, correct me if I'm wrong. When I was reading The Summer Guest, it actually stands alone well in its own, but would you recommend people go ahead and read the Spy Coast first?
It can stand alone, but I would recommend you read the Spy Coast first, because you get more of a background about my Martini Club members and
Yeah,
Joe Thibodeau.
there we
So
go.
you get to find out what, all these levels of conflict. Plus, there's a conflict of being in a small town, and you have an invasion of summer people who come in, the rich summer people. So there's this conflict between haves and have-nots, the people from away and the people who live here. And it's probably going to be a theme in any resort town in the world.
Yeah, love it, love it. Drew Minette, hello to you. Good to see you over there. Drew Minot. Sorry, Drew. Sorry about that. I just realized who you were over there on IG. Good to be able to see you, Tess. I appreciate you stopping by again. Let our audience know how to stay connected with you.
You can go to my website at tessgerritsen.com. I am at Facebook at Tess Gerritsen. I am on X at Tess Gerritsen, and I'm also on Blue Sky. So please come and find me, and you'll be first to know when I have an event in your area.
Love that, Tess. Again, appreciate the time. Looking forward to our next chat together.
Yes. Thank you very much, Cyrus.
More than welcome. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Cyrus Webb Presents and Conversations Live. Until next time, you all make it a great one. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.